calling it cuffing. I'm like, I'm not feeling the branding of it. It's like gangbang. Like, I don't want to do a gangbang. I don't want to be gangbanged. It sounds really vigorous and uncomfortable, but like a cock pile. I would totally want to get in the center of a cock pile. I've been a pornographer since 2006. A website that already had naked pictures of me was like, hey, will you come out and have sex with this girl? And I looked at her and I was like, sure, I'll try it. And then I did a couple of videos for them. And then a really big production studio was like, hey, will you come have sex with this girl? And once I was in the office, they were like, how do you feel about boys? And I'm like, boys are fine. Oh, you mean like, And I had to think about it because that really is like a little harder to explain. Like, it's one thing to be like, oh, I did a couple of pornos with another woman in my youth. Like, we had crazy hair or sowing our wild oats. And it's another thing to be like, well, I took a contract job with a major production studio and touched penises over and over and over again, like, for years. And I was like, I didn't want to go into politics or teaching. So I was like, yeah, it'll probably be fine. Love Little Kim based on nudity and like pure filth that comes out of her mouth. It's amazing. And like the like Salt and Pepper, there were at least a couple of like really sex positive anthems that they did those are in the rotation on YouTube. Growing up having sex positive messages like that floating around, and like not just in music and pop culture, but also in certain kinds of feminism that were becoming more of a thing at the time. That's why for me it was like, porn, what are the real ramifications? Actually, this sounds interesting, I'm gonna do that. A couple of years after I started performing, I started just like having a blog on Tumblr, and then that turned into offers for writing gigs, and then eventually it was like, hey, I've had a byline in the New York Times, and like, yeah, and now here we are. Marriage is an economic transaction, like really. And then like we put this love stuff on it after the fact, and like, okay, it's like, sometimes it goes down differently now, but it's the ritual exchange of female body as commodity. And I really believe that, like with gender preferences, some people are more polyamorous or polyfuckerous, and some people are more monogamous. And where you run into problems is when a dedicated monogamist is like, I want to date you, poly person. Why can't you be more like me? And it's like, well, because not wired that way. Like, there's the whole idea that a person's happiness level is going to be pretty consistent. Like, you might hit a spike when something good happens, but like success, not success, nice house, not nice house, whatever, like you're gonna be kind of as happy as, like, in a happy range no matter what. It wouldn't surprise me if we find out in 10, 20 years that the poly-mono thing is kind of firmly wired by adulthood. Pornographer gets clicks, right? We know this, we all know this. We're in New York, the people in the room, they work in media, we're all aware what the game is. I'm here because I'm gonna give them clicks based on the pornographer thing, and I'm gonna get attention for the book club that I'm doing on November 19th. Also, since this will be coming out in time for that, I'm in a play that runs until the 20th in Williamsburg. So one of my friends has this event space, and they do all sorts of events. It's called the Gemini Scorpio Loft. It's in Gowanus. And they do like makeout parties and like BDSM play parties and some other stuff. And she was over one day and she was like, we should do a thing. And I'm like, well, I am in New York for like 3 months because this play. So yeah, we should do a thing. Because I'm not good when I get bored. Things get weird. One time is the second to last place I lived in. I rhinestoned the walls because I had too much free time. And we were like, what would we do? And we bounced some ideas around and we were like, book club. So we called it Sex Lit. And the first book that we did was George Bataille's Story of the Eye. I'm kind of obsessed with it. I had a porno that was based on, I think it's the 3rd chapter. It might be the 4th chapter. It was a collaboration with 4 Chambers and it's just called The Eye. But I'm like, all sorts of material for Story of the Eye, so that was the first one. At the end of the day, I'm a performer, so I'm used to taking strange directions, like focus really hard on this book while we try to make your body have an orgasm and like let that tension build until it snaps. And I'm like, okay, cool. Like, they use the Hitachi for hysterical literature, the Hitachi magic wand, and it's like, it's huge and it plugs into the wall and it's very forceful. Like even if you don't really want to have an orgasm, like your body is going to go through the physiological process of it regardless of whether you want to or not, and it's probably gonna happen surprisingly quickly. And I'm like, okay, so like what is it about that that's like a thing to me and how can I access it? And I'm like, okay, well it's Bataille's Little Death, and it's like, this thing's gonna be like a freight train and I'm having slightly less than enthused feelings about this, and it's because it's this like undeniable total loss of control of self for a moment. So like, all right, we just go with that. And then I'm like, yeah, supervert. And then I read through the book. Out of the collection of stories, the only one that really felt like it had a female narrator, because most of the other ones are either they definitely feel like a male narrator or it's more gender neutral. So I went with that one and I was like, hey, Supervert, can I read from your thing for this thing? And they were like, sure. And then it was a lot bigger than anybody expected, and now the book's sold out.